right now, they're talking. Well, they stopped talking, unfortunately, and it looks like they couldn't agree. They couldn't agree. He's saying, "Well, I have the rare minerals right here. What are you doing for me? Okay, I got a huge amount of deflation I need to take care of, and you have to help me. Otherwise, it's not going to work out. I need you to help me." So Trump, I mean, the people over, they went to Switzerland, Sweden, and they basically saying, well, we need the rare earth mineral. Well, you know what? We're not agreeing here because you basically want to decouple from us and you want to learn as much as possible. And then you're going to close the door. You don't need us anymore. And then you're going to deal with the rest of the world. That's what you're doing. And I know what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing. And I can't allow you to do that. In fact, I'm going to start picking away at India and all these countries to come back to the US. That is the war that is going on. Now, of course, right now it's a war of words, a war of discussion, right? And frankly, China is the only country that said, no, I'm not doing it, right? Everybody else says, yes, it's okay. Just give him what he wants. He's going to go away. Plus, frankly, we're not signing anything anyway. We're just talking, right? So the 15%, but we're making money anyway. So the 15% is not such a big deal. And he knows that too, right? But Trump wants more. And at some point, that's going to be, it could be a big issue for you. It could be a humongous issue because if China is not happy, then they're going to say, well, I'm taking Taiwan then. How about that? What are you going to do about that? And we know that you only have missiles for 1 week. So think about that before you start acting up. The only thing is, this is not a business. This is a country. And the institution after which he goes, it could be a great thing, but it could be a disaster, right? For example, this guy that he wants to bring in at the Fed wants to lower rates. And some of them are saying, out of the 7, 5 of them are saying, what lower rates? We have inflation. Don't do that. You know what happened in the 80s, right? We had a huge amount of inflation and they destroyed everything. Remember the 80s where rates went from 4 to 12%? They had to kill the country in order to reduce inflation. Everybody lost their job, huge amount of problem. Is that what you want? But there's not going to be any inflation. How do you know? Well, because Trump is in charge and he'll control everything and we haven't seen anything. Be careful because if it doesn't work, and as long as Trump is in, he's going to keep pushing for it and he's going to get lower rates and the guy is wrong and there's inflation. And don't forget, these things are not happening like that, right? It happens like this. Inflation goes up, and then you're trying to bring it down. But as you're trying to bring it down, there's still amount, because what is inflation? Inflation is the expectation that prices are going to go up. So if you go to, for example, at Amazon, whose prices are going up, by the way, according to Wall Street Journal, 2,300 items slowly, but it's happening. Then you say, well, I'm going to get a job, but I want to get paid more money because everything is more expensive. So now you're expecting more money. So of course, the person that's going to give more money, they are going to charge more for their products. And there it goes. And it gets larger and larger. And then if the union comes in, they say, you know what? We want our salaries taxed to inflation. So it's not something that you can just control very easily. It takes usually 8 quarters for rates to impact the economy. Right? So even if today the Fed fund rate typically takes between 6 to 18 months to fully impact the economy. So, listen to this. If this guy is correct, if Whelan is correct, he says the economy is slowing down, and the other 5 guys, a woman, say, no, that's not true. But suppose he's right. And, of course, they're not going to decide now. They're going to decide in September. And this thing start to slow down, meaning science is a science. And I'm seeing the sign because I've seen 2 people that are looking for a job and they can't find it, okay? I'm not talking working for the government or for healthcare, actual private jobs. As it slows down, right? And then what you're saying, well, okay, you know what? Let's lower the rates then. You're right. You were right. Sorry. We thought you wanted the job, but in fact, we're now seeing that there's no inflation and employment is, you guys were correct, right? So it's going to take between 6 to 18 months before you prevent the economy from slowing